Welcome to the Political Refs with Justin Criddle, Dan Snell, and Jesse Hall. Blowing the whistle on Washington, D.C. And hello again. Welcome to the Political Refs. Once again, Jesse Hall, Justin Criddle, and Dan Snell. Each week, we bring, as basketball officials, we bring the concept of playing fair, sportsmanlike conduct, fouls, violations, and anything that we would call on a basketball court. We'll review Washington, D.C., and we will blow the whistle on Washington, D.C. when they need it. And so each week we have you could see right here, we have a shot clock, we call it, a timer, so we keep our comments under a minute, and we're going to get going. So let's just start right off. Here, you can see my dog, Hercules. He
What's
loves,
up, Herc?
He loves America. He loves his dad. He loves referees, and he loves politics. So, okay, you're a good boy. Get down. Anyway, okay, Justin, start us off. What's our first topic of the week?
All right, here we go. We're coming down the court. We got a play to call. Elon Musk in his email to the federal workers, tweet/email basically demanding that production or, whatever things are being done is proven and shown with the follow-up by the federal workers. So we're starting with that Elon Musk email/tweet.
Okay.
Dan, I hit that one first.
You want it? Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I'm going to call a technical foul on Elon.
Oh, right away we start the show with Mr. T.
Absolutely. And here's why. Donald Trump is the head coach. Elon is the sports medicine person. Sports medicine people can't question anybody's call. That's an automatic technical foul. And if he does it the second time, he's gone. Now, let's get to the nitty gritty. Elon has a position, I believe, called, DOG, Department of Government Efficiency. So, and that's okay. However, I'm not sure where his power begins or ends. And I just believe that he needs to be put back in line, and I hope that he can last through the remainder of this particular ball game. But yes, I do have a technical foul.
Technical foul right away.
I'll follow it up. See, here it is. So it's not a technical foul, but I wouldn't say sports medicine. I would say he's probably like an assistant coach. And then, you got Cash Patel, also an assistant coach. And I don't know if you guys seen the clip of Arizona's coaches. They was really getting into it with one another, talking about things on the bench. But that's what happens sometimes. From my point of view, I see the media and the left trying to sow seeds of division on how they're reporting Cash Patel's response to Elon Musk. 1 minute we're calling him a dictator. The next minute we're saying Elon Musk is the president. And then when they show that they're not dictators, when they show that they're willing to be bipartisan or work together, the teamwork makes the dream work. When they show that, okay, well, maybe what you said, maybe, they're testing the waters, a little pull, a little push, and they're meeting in common ground. Then there's a whole nother narrative that, it's chaotic and they're having a power struggle and all these types of things. So, the email was brought on because Trump said he likes what Elon's doing. He wants him to be more aggressive. That was Elon's move as far as aggression goes. And then the other thing is they're not making a call on, they're not telling the federal employees aren't making calls, they're players, right? And so they're just asking for some accountability and proof of, are we paying you for the right reason? So I know I went over.
That's okay. You got a rebound. You got another extension.
But we'll just keep it rolling. I have no technical foul. This is what happens. They have to work together to get the job done.
Okay. All right. I'll reset the shot clock, and here I go. So this one. So kind of the time frame of this is Donald Trump said on, I think you saw Donald Trump say, "Oh, the clock's not running. Oh, come on, scores table. Come on, Get that clock. Come on, Cable. Get that clock running. Donald Trump, as you mentioned, Donald Trump on Friday said Elon needs to be more aggressive. Truth Social, Donald Trump said he likes what Elon's doing. He needs to be more aggressive. Okay, so then I think Elon is a player. You guys think he's bench personnel. I think he's one of the star players. Yeah, Hercules agrees here. You can see that Hercules agrees. He's one of the star players, and so he sends out this email that either you tell me the top 5 things you did in the last week to prove your value or your worth, or if you don't respond by midnight on Monday, it could be grounds for termination or putting you on leave. So what do I call that? Beep. I call it a violation. It's a violation. Got the ball in my hand. What's this? Excessive swinging of the elbows. This is my call. Excessive swinging of the elbows, because I think I have to reset the shot clock. I got the rebound. I think Elon Musk was a little bit excessive in what he did, because you always, in communication at any level, you have to not only remember what you're saying, and you can say it with a wow. For instance, he started off that wow when Elon Musk went to CPAC and he held up that chainsaw. You got to love the guy and his use of props. He held up a chainsaw and he goes, "I'm chainsaw the federal government. I'm slicing." Clever. And of course, the crowd loved that. But your audience just isn't the CPAC conservative crowd. It's the whole United States. And so when he put out that email, you have to remember who's your audience. And the audience isn't not only the people that right now, which about 60% of Americans think, hey, Trump's doing pretty good and like his policies, but there are people that don't. So you have to remember to be aware of who the receiver is. So I think he excessively swung his eyeballs. Violation.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't think that you don't have to play for the crowd. And so the crowd can have one way or feel one way about it, whether it's the Republicans or the Democrats, but the federal workers, and it wasn't do it or else, it was basically your lack of compliance would be your own admission for what's the word? Basically to resign.
Yeah.
So
no one will fire you.
If you're not willing to just show the proof of performance, then you basically remove yourself from the playing field. But what was you about to say, Jesse?
No, I was just going to add in that, okay, with the swinging of the elbows, of course, if we have contact, Dan, then that brings us back to that technical foul situation.
You just want to get back to that team, man.
the thing is here with Elon, that's why I say it's a technical foul for me, because I see just too much over aggression, whether he's an assistant coach or whether he's the head a medical person, whatever. His job is not trying to get up and question anything that any official does or does not do. He can go to his head coach and make those recommendations, but he can't do that through either one of the three of us. And so that's
let's see the points of reason. So let me ask you guys the questions. Do you agree that workers should have to prove their production? Is that, if you were a boss or if you had an evaluation in officiating, oftentimes we have to have an evaluation, and you just said, no, I don't have to be evaluated. Who are you to tell me to be evaluated? I'm not coming to the clinic. What's that? Basically you're just saying by your own lack of participation, you're basically saying, you know what, don't assign me to any games next year. I don't have to listen to you.
But hold on. I think we're looking at it from just the standpoint of where we are just as officials. I'm saying with him already being in that position as an official, he has a designated job that he is to do. When you go back to this, prior to this election, you will find that there's this 900-page
Are you talking about the 2025 agenda?
Yeah, that's
propaganda. That's propaganda.
Yeah. But still, he's putting in this stuff that we're calling propaganda now, but he's making it into reality by saying, this is what, quote, I want you to do. He's not the boss.
Right, but he got orders from the boss to go ahead and exert some power. I'm just asking both of you if you could answer that. Do you think it's a good idea for anybody in any position, whether government or an employee in a fast food restaurant or an employee or independent contractor officiating, is it good or is it bad to have performance-based evaluations? In most places, you have performance-based evaluations. That's what keeps things regulated up to a premier standard that's expected.
Yeah. Okay, let me see if I can get mine in for short and quick here. I think my answer to that question, Justin, would have to be no, because Elon is not a coach. Okay, he's not a coach. We can say that that's what he is, but he's not. We're talking about elected officials. He's appointed, and so by him being appointed, for him to take the aggressiveness that I see that he's taking, overall doesn't make good sense to me, because now it would confuse me. Who is the real boss in this situation?
Well, obviously he's not the real boss, which is why he was entitled to the pushback that he got, right? Kash Patel says, no, we're not going to do that right now. And I think Kash Patel said that because we need to figure out if we're going to report and prove productivity, we need to exclude the people who have valuable information that we don't release that. If you're working on something, top secret or something along those lines, you don't want to just be telling people what you're doing. So I think that Kash Patel's not saying he's not in agreement with it. I think he's saying we need to get on board and then see who's qualified or not qualified to give out information about what they're doing or not doing. But in that regard, I think that it's good because Elon Musk just simply said it. He just simply suggested it. He's not the president. He's not the head coach. And if the head coach and the other assistant coaches agree on his proposal, they will implement what he suggested. He's a billionaire. Has a very successful company. So I think that's why they lean on him for ideas, because it's his ideas that have, got him to where he is. It's his ideas that has NASA asking him to go rescue 2 astronauts from space. So, that's what we got. What do you got, Dan? Do you think it's a good idea?
I'd just say on the positive aspect, trying to get more efficient, more productivity. I was in corporate America for 40 plus years, and you get evaluated every quarter, at least twice a year. And I think that historically, having a government jobs, good benefits, good retirement, all the good things, but it has been, and sometimes it can warp into too easy of a comfy situation. So on the positive side, what they're trying to do is good. The reason I thought it was excessive, as we did see, there's about like 5 or 6 agencies, Department of Defense, like you mentioned, FBI, even Kennedy at HHS. Everybody said, and the why of that is in any situation, he basically went above all the people that were already confirmed in their positions as the leaders of those departments. And he's saying, I don't care what you think. I'm going to have your employees have to report to me when they actually report to those directors out there. Boom, at the buzzer.
Yeah, I don't think he's saying that. That's opinionated. He never once said, I don't care what you think. I think,
well,
that's kind of.
Yeah, I wouldn't imply in that. My point, and fair to say that, my point is, without saying it, he sends to those federal employees. And if I'm the manager, if I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and my employees I'm the director. I'm Robert F. Kennedy. It's my department, and I should be able to have some say, more say. I shouldn't be able to. I have say over my employees, and that's why I think it was excessive swinging of the elbows. You're correct to call me out for.
I think that they do have say. I think that they do have say, and it's dangerous to paint Elon and Trump in this dictator light that we're trying to, because who says they don't have say? Who says that's martial law this morning that the federal government or federal employees have to report to Elon. That's just not the case.
Well, we're not saying that. I'm not saying that. I don't think that.
And that's because the actual head of those departments hold rank. He's not going above anybody. He's suggesting it, and they'll come together. I mean, these guys know each other at this point, from Vivek Ramaswamy to RFK Jr. to all of them. Elon, they know each other. Kash Patel, they've been together. They got pictures together. They're on the same page. I don't think anyone's offended. I think the left wants one of them to be offended, like I said, to sow seeds of division and watch this thing crumble and keep progress from being made in America. But they're not, no one feels like their toes have been stepped on.
Here's a political ref's prediction. Shocking, real quick, I'll say. By the 4th of July, of course, a lot can get done in that period, but Trump and Elon won't be as close and they won't have the same relationship. There will be some form of pulling apart for whatever reasons.
Well, if anyone's pulling them apart, it's the media, the left-backed media. I mean, they've been trying to do it since day one.
I just want to throw in that somewhere along the line, I believe I read that the FBI director told his employees not to respond to particular whether it's whether he's looking for them to just say, this is what I'm doing or this is what I'm not doing. I just believe, from what I read, that he's saying that they do have to either resign or do it. And so he just boldly told his employees not to do it.
Yeah. Well, you know what, guys? The great thing is, by next show of the Political Refs, we'll have an update on all this, and we'll be able to look back and observe what unfolded. So, what's our second topic?
Let's see. So we got Ukraine, Zelenskyy, everything surrounding that, trying to reach a peace agreement. We're talking about access for America to minerals inside of Ukraine. We're talking about the relationship between Zelenskyy and Putin and Trump and Zelenskyy, this love triangle, or this, I wouldn't say there's much love involved. If there's any love, it might be Trump going to Putin, but outside of that, I don't think there's any love. But we're just talking about that, and if there's any calls on that in regards to what we see on the play. I mean, do you guys have unsportsmanlike? Do you guys have blocks, charges? What do you got?
Yeah, well, I'll start out. I think all the way around, all three of those guys are unsportsmanlike conduct. Putin, because here we're trying to negotiate something that would save him money and people, and he's launching drones, the biggest drone attack, in 3 years, and he continues to fight and send and go after the attack. Zelenskyy, he's smart enough. He's smart enough to know you don't say anything about Donald Trump, because Donald Trump will double down on you. And, of course, Donald Trump did triple down, calling him a dictator, calling him not elected, calling him, I've heard everything that he's, I won't even say some of the things that was called. So I think all three of them unsportsmanlike for world leaders. They're world leaders. It's unsportsmanlike, and the shot clock went up. It's too much.
Well, thanks for that buzzer sound.
That's a good buzzer sound.
For me, this is a tough one, because as an official, when we get into unsportsmanlike conduct, gentlemen, we can try and skim around it any way we want to. But unsportsmanlike, for me, is one of those bangers in terms of how are we going to deal with this. We can either let them keep on throwing elbows and connecting, or throwing elbows and missing and calling it unsportsmanlike conduct. But then in the last 5 minutes or the last 5 seconds of the game, because we've not called the technical fouls like we should have, or gotten rid of the folks that we should have, we are now in a world of trouble. And one of the worst things, in my opinion, that can happen to officials is to get to the end of a ball game. And anytime there are fights or, people clearing their benches and those kind of things, you then make people go back and look at everything that happened that led up to that particular situation. And you talking about an evaluation that you never ever want to see, that's the one that you don't want to see. Because they're going to go back to that one that happened in the first quarter, and you said, well, but it was just swinging of the elbows. And you said, okay, guys, I'm telling you right now, anybody else who throws an elbow, you'll be over there with the coach, if not in the locker room. You got to get it in at some point in time, in my opinion. And so, again, I'm going back to
that's a good point. That's why I didn't call it T, because they're too big of superstars. They're the three big superstars. You don't want to take them out of the game by with technical fouls, but you just want them to know that they're unsportsmanlike. And Hercules agrees here.
Superstars get thrown just like anybody else. See, to me, that's like saying you're going to give a superstar, instead of giving him that Euro step, you give him the Euro step +1. Well, you just created a double walk situation any way you want to, talk about it. We can't just say because somebody is a superstar. If you want to stay around, play by the rules.
Yeah. Okay, Justin.
Yeah, I have to agree with what Jesse said in regards to, if you don't call it the entire game, by the time you get to the end of the game, you're going to have a problem, right? And so here we are. We just played 4 quarters under different coaches, under different players, and now there's a new coach in town with new players, and we're trying to call stuff in the first 5 seconds of a game that hasn't been called the entire last 4 years. So there's going to be push and there's going to be pull, because America has looked at Zelenskyy as if he's a superstar, as if he's someone that can't be corrected or stopped, or as if we have to bend to his every will and give him every favorable call and appoint an and one after and one after and one. Let his travels go. Let his carries go. Let his moving screens go. Let all this go. And then, send him to the free throw line as much as we can. We've given Zelenskyy all that we can give Zelenskyy. Now, here's my opinion when it comes to Zelenskyy and Putin. I don't know either one of them. I've never seen them. I've never talked to them. I never had any interaction with them. I don't know their children. I don't know their mothers. I don't know anything about these two individuals, anything for certain, other than what the media in America has told me. Okay, so when you're talking about all the world leaders, all the thousands of leaders that are in the world, all the hundreds and thousands of queens and kings and presidents and prime ministers, why are these two so heavily talked about on our news stations? Why do I need to have a perspective about Putin? Why do I need to have a perspective about Zelenskyy? What is in it for America? Okay, other than that, I think that peace between the two countries would be really good. I think that access to the minerals inside of Ukraine would be really good. I think that if we could get back in the green, the 200 billion plus that's been sent to Ukraine in aid, that's prolonged the war and the murdering of, I think it's up to like hundreds of thousands of men and soldiers, men and women inside those countries. I mean, we've funded that firsthand. If we can regroup some of that money by coming together and meeting in a political space where we benefit and they benefit, I think that that's going to be the best. And then, quite honestly, I think it would be more beneficial for America to, I don't want to say the wrong word, but be in better relations with Russia and China. I mean, we don't want these two countries to be our enemies. And so, a lot of people feel like Ukraine's our ally. We should stand by them blindly, unequivocally. I just don't see it like that. We have to do what's best for the country, and being at odds with Russia and China is never going to be the best thing for us. So there's a whole bunch of stuff we have to come in and start calling, because the last 4 quarters, we haven't called anything. And people are saying, wait, the last refs didn't call anything. Why are you calling it? Well, because these are the rules, and we have to start playing by the rules again. So that's my long, overdrawn 4-shot clock opinion.
And well, and I would just real quickly see if I can start my shot clock over here. I would agree to disagree if we on time, in that if we're going to play by the rules, here's the thing that I question is, America has always been in the world the country that is the strong leader of right and wrong. That being said, it's not to say that we should not maybe adjust how we're giving money to world, but in this case, bilateral, both parties agreed to give all that money. They had to vote, Republicans and Democrats, to give all that money that we gave to Ukraine. And then to come in afterwards and say, oh, by the way, we gave you all that money. Now we, America, want 50% of all the profits of your minerals. I agree we could work with them to regain back some of that. But Europe has actually given more money overall combined. The combined EU has given more money to Ukraine than the United States has. I'm going to get a rebound here so I can finish. And so my point is, I think it's not honorable to say after the fact, after both parties, Republicans and Democrats, voted for us to come in and say, okay, now you owe me. That'd be like Jesse Hall saying to me, Dan, I got you in the CBA in the 80s. You now owe me 50% of all the money you make the rest of your life. Because that's an exaggeration, but my point is, I think we have to keep the honor. We did the right thing when it was the right thing. Now it's no longer the right thing. Giving them the money and prolonging the war is no longer the right thing. But the right thing is to honor what we did in the past and not try to play games and take things for our benefit for the future.
You know, you say that America has always been basically the moral compass in the universe, and of course that's propaganda. That's a perspective we're taught. There's countries out there who absolutely hate America, just how Americans hate certain countries because the government has raised us to think and operate a certain way. You know, in 1985, a bomb was dropped inside the city of Philadelphia. 1985, on men, women, and children of African descent, African Americans, and this was all surrounding the Black Panther Party. And did anyone from Africa come in and step in and help those individuals? No. Did America help those individuals? No. America is not always right. America is not always wrong. America always appears to be right to its citizens because they cook up these perspectives and these ideologies for their communities to absorb and believe over time. But in reality, I mean, you're talking about the Tulsa race riots. You're talking about bombs being dropped all the way up to 1985. You're talking about the scandal between JFK, MLK, all these things that America, you're talking about CIA purposefully letting drugs be poured into the country to fund wars and to just bring about complete chaos to get things done that they want to do in other places. America is not always right. And we need to get off this idea that that we're the avengers of the world. We're the avengers of Black people. We're the avengers of minorities. We're the avengers of the homosexual community. We're the avengers of any country in the Middle East who is having issues. We're the avengers. We have to go and say, first of all, maybe we should save ourselves, back off the ledge of Sodom and Gomorrah, maybe correct ourselves a little bit, and then we can maybe potentially talk about partnering with other people to help them. Why is Europe not putting up the money? Why is these other countries involved with NATO and different things like that? Why aren't they putting up the money we're putting up? We're not the avengers of the universe. We're highly corrupt in our own rights, in our own ways. And there's a whole lot of things that have went unsolved, unattended inside this country that were complete injustices. So we don't need to go making justice for other people. We need justice for the people who have experienced injustice here in America.
Yeah, and I'm going to challenge you on that as my friend, because just as you said earlier that, and we're going to talk about that, I think, today, is the narrative that's out there. I think you're listening perhaps more to the narrative of how bad America is, how corrupt America is, how a bunch of liars, everybody is bad. And I used to sit around the kitchen table at 9 o'clock at night and eat ice cream with my dad and talk about patriotism and love of country. And that in World War II, if we wouldn't have stepped in World War II, we might not have the freedom and the flags behind us that we're talking about, because Germany was evil and Japan was... they took us out. I'm not saying that America's always right. I never did say that. We'll have to replay this. And I never said America's always right. Ronald Reagan said this, and he's my hero. We're a shining city on the hill. And the Bible talks about that. And I just think that we need to lead, because if we don't lead, somebody else, bam, 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 shot clock. So I got the shot off here. I'm going to get. But if we don't lead, then that opens up a vacuum where people will go to China or they'll go to Russia. And that, well, no matter we want to say, I agree with you, we need to have the best relations we have. But they are not in their darkest secrets and hallways and boardrooms. They are not thinking about good for all of mankind. They're thinking about control and other things that they have proven throughout the world.
And so America, in their darkest, deepest corners and secrets, are sitting around saying, man, how can we be the best people to the world?
Not anymore, because we have too much division, and we're going to talk about that in our next subject. And that's what frustrates me to all hell. You know me, I never cuss. Hell's a cuss word for me. Frustrates me to all hell that we're so divided in this country. And I'm going to get my shot off. But what I'm saying is the United States is still the leader of the world, and we should act like it.
I'll say this real quick. You spoke to who you think I'm listening to, and that America's evil and all these things. There's only one group who's saying America's terrible, and that's the left. Right now, the right saying that this is the golden age. They're happy about every single thing that's happening. They're happy about the deportations. They're happy about the tariffs. They're happy about the men being out of women's sports. They're happy about everything under the sun. So it can't be that the right is making me feel this way. It can't be too much of the left, because just a couple months ago, the left was saying this is the greatest time in American history, and the right was saying this is the worst time. I do believe that there's an opportunity for the future to look bright. And, at the national anthem, whenever I'm doing a game, I always pray the entirety of the national anthem, hand over my heart. And during that time, I pray. I pray for the people in the audience. I pray for the players. I pray for my crew. I pray that God enables us and prolongs the existence of America, the prosperity of America, the peace and security of America. I pray that prayer. So I believe and desire a bright future for America. I'm not a doomsday guy, or else I wouldn't be having children or actively trying to have more children. But I do believe that the future can look bright. But I think that the steps that are being taken have to be taken in order for us to get back to a place where we can say pretty comfortably, hey, I think we're headed in the right direction. You got anything, Jesse?
Yeah, I'm going to throw this little small piece in there. I think our biggest problem right now is that we're going back and forth between the left and the right, or the Democrats and the Republicans. The thing I think we're missing is that over 70%, right at 70% of the people are someplace else. Yet we spend very little time talking about what their positions are. And as referees, it's kind of like, for me, we almost got to call a technical foul on ourselves, because we've put ourselves in a situation here right now to where we've been discussing one situation, and we've been getting rebound after rebound, and we've just rehashing it and repositioning our own personal position, not realizing that, gentlemen, that clock is going. And, we haven't made it to the 5-minute mark in the first quarter yet. So, I mean, we've got 3 minutes of play underneath our belts, because we are not dealing with the issues that are right before us, that as referees that we can deal with. I mean, my opinion about what I think of a coach, I've had coaches that I really did not like, but I've never called a technical foul on them, because all I had to do was say to them, that is enough. That's it within my jurisdiction. Now that I'm older, I don't go that far. I just tell them, hey, you need to go sit down. Well, technically, that's a threat. And so I have to be careful so that I don't do that. And so here I'm just saying this, all I have to say this. We need to get back to doing our job and getting back on just the officiating part, and let's just keep it moving, keep the game moving.
There we go. And that leads us to our next subject, and it's kind of tying in. Let me just stop the clock here. Hercules is excited about this because, dogs, right? Dogs are unconditional love. They said, look at the dog looking at me. He just loves me unconditionally. And don't you wish that all Americans loved? Okay. I wish America loved our country and each other the way that dogs love us. But we're going to talk about this is not a person or something that's going on in Washington, but it's going on in the whole country, is the narrative and the words and the behavior and the rhetoric between both sides. We've touched on it here, and I will let me start the clock here, so I'll get going. I'll take up first. I listened, and I'll put this. There'll be a graphic up here you can see, but I listen. And Jesse, you alluded to it, and I say it often. There's 15% on the left and 15% on the right, and they're extreme. And those people out there, guess what? They blast their social media and they blast the news. And you've got media here. You've got from on the right, you've got OANN, Newsmax. Then as you move more towards the center, Fox News is not as. Then on the left, you've got some stations like MSNBC or other people that the Bulwark, and they're far left. And they put all this stuff out, and people listen to that, and it gets them all stirred up, and they're yelling, and they're screaming, and they're going crazy because they don't like the other side. And the 70% in the middle want to see words and behavior. And to Donald Trump's credit, the things that he is doing, we used that basketball before, the basketball terms, he's doing a fast break, full court press, he's doing a lot of things that are good. But when you go in front of the television, he was on CPAC, and this is where I'll encourage you, I'll send you, but when you go on CPAC and you say to a room of people, let me reset the shot clock. Okay. When you say to a room of people, and you know me, I don't cuss, so I'll just try to beat myself. But when you say that the other side, when you're president of the United States, you're in office. You won the game. You're the national champion. You're the world champion. You are Donald Trump. And when you go and have to go and you start off your speech saying how bad Joe Biden is, he's a liar, cheater, is he lazy Joe Biden, or is he sleepy Joe Biden, or is he corrupt Joe Biden? You get everybody cheering against a former president. That's narrative, and that's rhetoric that stirs people up in the wrong way. And when the president of the United States says everything that Joe Biden did was a bunch of beep, it's a cuss word I won't even say. But you don't say that because you know what? You got little kids sitting at home, and if your little kids watch that, and then they go to their preschool or school or out in the neighborhood, and they say, "I think everything you do, neighbor, is a bunch of beep." Reset the shot clock, but I'm about done here. I got the rebound. I'm going to score here. I just think that words matter and behavior matter. And Donald Trump has a unique opportunity to be the greatest president of our generation if he would just watch his mouth and he would watch his behavior, because the things he's doing, and it's not okay. I'm not one of those people. I'm cheering him on for the things he's doing, but I'm not one of those people that say, I don't care about what he says, or I don't care, because I got grandchildren and people watch that. If you think it's okay to call people names and losers and bad names, that's not okay in my small town Nebraska upbringing or my Christian faith, either one. That's all I got. I made it. You guys are silent.
All right. No, I'll pick it up. So from there, we have to watch the current of the river and figure out how we got to this point. Less than 2 months ago, the actual words by the other candidate was this: democracy is on the ballot. Trump is a threat to democracy.
It wasn't right.
And here we are. He won the election. And they said, if he wins, he's going to put you back in chains. Mexicans, Jews, and blacks, and no one's going to be safe. Women will have their rights stripped away from them. Fear-mongering the entire country. And here he is, a month in. Democracy's not dead. And who has backtracked those statements and said, you know what? We were out of line. We went too far. America's America. We know that the president does not have the sole authority to just overthrow our Constitution, overthrow the way that we do things, overthrow the entire democracy. And then democracy just means that the people vote for the person in charge. Okay? No one's come forward and said, you know what? Yeah, that was propaganda. You know what? It was really just the last straw to try to get us in office and, win the game and everything like that. That wasn't right that we said democracy would be over if Trump wins. And here we are.
100% agree with you.
Trump's in office. Women are still walking down the street. Black, brown, white, yellow people are still waking up, playing video games for a living, waking up, commentating on YouTube for a living, waking up and driving Uber for a living. I mean, complete freedom, things that people in other countries have no access to. And does anyone take back their rhetoric? No. So
we shouldn't have the rhetoric in the first place, is what I'm saying. It's not
right.
taking it.
And what I'm saying is Biden, Harris, different whoever's putting out this propaganda inside the left-wing media stations, they need to be held accountable. I mean, we're talking about treason. We're talking about misappropriations of funds. We're talking about weaponizing the justice system. And they're saying, oh, Trump's going to do this, he's going to do that. It's just a self-reflecting fear that what they have been doing all along will be done unto them. And yet still, they won't take back their words. They won't take back their words. And so the narrative and the rhetorics are completely out of line. But at this point, why would Trump not get up and correct the things that they won't correct themselves? Joe Biden is corrupt. Joe Biden did lie. Joe Biden did have his press secretary get up in our faces and tell us things over and over and over that he wouldn't do, and then did it. He pardoned his entire family. Trump didn't pardon himself on the way out. Why would he not pardon himself if he was guilty of a crime? Why would you pardon yourself if you're not guilty of a crime? I mean, the thing doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You throw a rock through someone's window, you hide your hand, and then when they come out and confront you about destroying their property, defamation, when they come out and challenge you on that and confront you on that, you say, everybody see how terrible this person is. Trump's not a bad guy. Elon Musk is not a bad guy. The bad people are out of office, and they truly were bad people, fundamentally bad people who would lie to the American people and then prove to themselves that it was a lie, and then not acknowledge, you know what, we lied, we exaggerated, we shouldn't have took things here. I mean, we only try to blow his head off, but no big deal. Let's not talk about that. We want to talk about things from
that's a technical foul. Come on, Justin. There is no proof whatsoever that the Democratic Party was behind the potential assassination of. I mean, you can't say that, because that is a exaggeration or a guess. Is it possible? Sure. Anything's possible, but I don't think it's fair to accuse a Democrat.
Okay, then if it's not fair, then don't talk about things that Trump did 20 years ago, but you won't talk about the fact he almost had his head blown off and an American citizen was killed in that crowd with his head blown off in front of his wife, and not even cover it 5 days later in the news. I mean, of course, look, it is what it is. It's not a technical foul. The technical fouls are being issued as we speak.
Well, I think it was covered by all. I don't think anybody swept that under the table.
I think, though, that as officials, we've gotten into the coaches' part of the game and basically eliminated ourselves. I want to just go back to something that I brought up, I guess, a week ago, talking about the Department of Education. And one of the things that I discovered there was that department was created way back in the 50s. But the thing that caught my attention the most as I was looking at that from last week was when that department was organized, something happened in the great state of Kansas in 1954 with the Brown versus Board of Topeka. And of course, with that alone, it put integration and segregation on two separate pages. Yet, ever since that happened way back when, people have misunderstood why the Brown family even sued the Board of Education. They just missed it. It never said that we had to bus people and spend the kind of money that we've spent since 1954, taking groups of people back and forth to school. It simply meant that if blacks were able to move well, not just black, but if people moved into a certain neighborhood because they wanted to go to that school, they had the right to do that. But yet, we have all of these departments that are out there that I'm for, and I think I made that public last week, for us doing away with such a department. When you can deceive people for that long saying, this is why we did what we did. Never, ever did, going back to Thurgood Marshall and the group that was there that put that decision into place, did they intend for the Department of Education part to look the way it looks today, or the segregation integration part to look like it's looking today. But nobody wants to talk about that.
Well, one thing back, to the narrative. I'm going to propose something for us, because as referees, it's our goal, even though we have a little fun back and forth, to be neutral. So maybe what we should do right now, the Republicans are the home team, right? They're in control. They're the home. They got the home field crowd, and the visitors are the away. So maybe when we're talking, instead of talking about Republicans or Democrats, we can not to stop us, but we should maybe refer to, instead of the left and the right, because sometimes to me, when I hear the left say, those guys on the right, or when I hear the right say, those guys on the left, to keep it more as just in the arena, we should say home or away. Right now, Donald Trump and the Republicans are the home team, and the Democrats are the away. They're the visitors. They don't have the home. They don't have the home crowd and the home field advantage. So I'm going to at least try. You guys do what you feel most comfortable with, but I'm going to try to say right now the home team has got an arena that's full, and they're cheering, and they're doing a pretty good job. I'm going to get the rebound here and put it one shot up quickly. So the home team is scoring. The away team, Justin's right. The away team is shouting some ugly stuff, just as the home team now, when they were the away team, they were shouting the ugly stuff. My heart of hearts is for America to stop this back and forth attacking, and to focus on, shameless plug, the winsome way. In my book, the S of winsome is what's the solution, right? What's the solution to making things better in America? And Trump's doing a lot of great things toward making us more efficient and better, but his spirit, I'd like to see him work on as the cheerleader of the home crowd. I'd like to see that home crowd not be so against the visitors. And
the thing about the visitors is, how hard that is. It's like the Maine governor this past week. You talk about the visitor team. They're always saying the home team's going to weaponize the justice system. And what was her response to Trump saying you need to agree to federal law that men can't participate in women's sports? I'll see you in court. As if it's her personal shotgun or her big brother who's going to come beat him up. Why would you be opposed to keeping men out of women's sports? The visiting team, like I said last week, has become so unreasonable that, and it's different between visitors and homes, because you don't get to pick who's home and visitors in a real live basketball game.
You're right. She said that.
There's more people in the home stadium because the visitors are unreasonable lunatics.
Well, you don't need to call him names. That's part of what I'm trying to go against. So don't call them names. They're just now, they're the visitors.
I was going to just kind of break it down this way. Every year for about the last 40 years, I've calculated my games, and I've looked at home versus, away, visitors, whatever you want to call them. And for the last 40 years, I think 37 or 38 of those years, the visiting teams have had a winning record, with Jesse Hall being on the floor as one of either two officials or three officials. Not because I favor anybody, but again, I call it the way I see it. And that's just the way it ought to be in what we're doing. People say, well, why did you do that? Well, that was the reason I did it for a period in my lifetime. But the bottom line is this. None of us go out anymore and say, well, you know what? We got to make sure that the home team gets this or the visiting team doesn't get that. We come in, we go over our game plan, and then we try to execute it based on the rules that we're given, and we go from there. We should not care one way or the other, and I think today we've kind of really gotten away from that because we've huddled up, and we're still in this huddle We down now about 2 minutes to go in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
that's good. I mean,
Shot
we
clock,
need the
shot
huddle.
clock. So
You
let
know,
me just add that
it's
we get the
just
ball go down.
it's just
I got a
like
fast break. A fast break here on and you know, Justin, you are so right. When Janet Mills is the governor of Maine, when she blurted out, and when she blurted out, "I'll see you in court." However, and if you only see that clip, you think, "What a dummy! Why would you be a guest in the White House in a room full of the home team crowd and say?" But if you look at the clip from the beginning, there was taunting involved because the home team cheerleader said, "As the governor of Maine, you know who's in the room."
Yeah, he said, "Is the governor of Maine in the house?"
Yeah,
Oh,
he
there
said,
she
"Your
is.
political career is not going to be very good if you
He
don't go
said that
along with
after.
me."
He said that after. He didn't prompt her by saying that. He said that
Oh,
after
listen
she
to
had
it again,
threatened
my
to take him
friend.
to court.
Listen to it again.
So you're saying that Trump said your political career is not going to go long and elected of politics before she said, "I'll see you in court"?
All I know is when I watched it, he called her out and he said it's federal law. And he said to her, "Will you follow the law?" And she said, "I'll follow the state and federal laws," is what she said.
Right.
What she said. That was, and then
He said, "We are federal law." And then she
and that's
said,
what he
"I'll see
said.
you in
And then
court."
she
And
said,
he said, "I'll see you in court." That should be an easy one. And then said something along the lines of, "Have fun after you're governor." It
yeah, you're right.
last
But
long. I
if
mean,
you
good luck
watch that,
after
watch
governor.
that clip. To me, he knew what he was doing. He was trying to bait her.
But see, here's my thing. Here's a white person. He's challenging a white person, and people won't say how fair he is. I mean, he's attacking a white person, but yet he's racist. He's disagreeing
Well,
with the
it's got
white
nothing to
person,
do with
but yet
race.
he's
It's
racist.
not, I mean, if you just go back to basics, she's a governor. She's a fellow elected official and a woman. I personally wouldn't attack a governor if I were president or a woman.
He didn't attack her. She attacked him and said, "I'll see you in court." That's a threat. If I
Okay,
said, "All
clock's
right, Dan,
running.
I'll see you in court."
But see, even what we're doing now, this is what's we're referees. We get the home team and the away team, and uh, we got to find a way, just as we're doing that. You nailed it. It's the media. It's the foremost the social media out there, because in America there's no fact check. There's no social media checking. Like I always try to on both
Why should
sides. I
someone have
watch
to?
about
Why
five or
would? Why
six.
does
Five. Let me
Dan?
finish.
Why does
5 or
someone
6
have to
on a
check?
particular news story. 5 or 6 to get both sides. I want to see what both sides say, and then I try to come to what's the real facts. Because if I listen to Fox News, I'll get one side. If I listen to MSNBC, I'll get a totally different story. I like
Absolutely.
News Nation. Our former MVP Chris Cuomo, I love him.
Yeah.
And I like the people that try to work at it, like we try to do, to work at being.
But why would you need to fact check free speech?
Yeah, no, now see where you're getting that. The fact of the matter is, people need to tell the truth. The fact of the matter is, and that is
and you
biblical.
have to count on everyday people with their own podcast.
Biblical. It's I know you guys to be men of faith, and some of the things that come out of both sides, the home team and the away team, are not something they would say on Sunday up front at the pulpit. And that's what I think we should lead the country as if, hey, we were being accountable for what we said, and it's going to be the truth today, yesterday, and tomorrow. And both sides, that's what the whole narrative, both sides is who can spin the most emotional story to stir up the America. I'd rather stir up America for good, for going out and volunteering, for helping their neighbor, for volunteering for something in the community, rather than than saying, I'm just going to sit back and take shots on social media at the home team or the away team.
I truly do feel emotional about this situation because, and I don't think it's anything that's been spun. When we sit around in our house and we talk about it and we talk and think about the future of this country, it is pretty emotional. I mean, it is pretty infuriating. The open borders, the misappropriation of funds, I know we don't want to say it's a conspiracy that the Democrats or the Secret Service had their hand in purposefully ignoring individuals talk about a shooter for up to 2 minutes before he let off shots. I mean, there's a documentary I watched that has so much. I mean, it even has testimonies from a guy a black guy actually, who served in the military. No, actually the National Guard, and he was there, and he gave help to the person who was shot and killed at that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, and he talked about it. I mean, the things people have experienced, and then Kim Cheadle and what she said afterwards. Oh, it's a slanted roof, but there were snipers on the other roofs that were more slanted. They had pictures of agents up on the roof where the shooter was killed, and they were standing there just fine. I mean, it truly is infuriating, and I believe that the only one who's spinning a web is the left side. Everything else is facts. Everything else is facts. And the reason that so many people are supporting and voting for Trump now is because they can see that. They can see how corrupt this thing has become. And, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't put any stake in the polls, but in the last 30 days, it's unfortunate because I think America needs to give Donald Trump a chance and kind of be still and just look for the good and not focus on the bad. But that's unfortunately the way it is. Whether it's Patrick Mahomes, everybody used to love him. Now we look for the bad on Patrick Mahomes. But his poll numbers have gone down, depending on what you say. And I don't believe in polls, but from 7% down to 13%, he's dropped. He's still got the highest numbers he's ever had. Yet my thing is that America, we get emotional about the bad side of politics instead of, as you said, praying during the national anthem when you referee, or praying for our country or our leaders, or doing things that are positive.
I think the reason we have a right to get angry is because it's our life, it's our freedom, it's our security at stake. It's not just like it's a game. When I look at how much they have exploited the violence of unarmed black men being killed by police officers over the last 30 years, that plays a role into how people perceive politics. Because for 30 plus years, from Rodney King to George Floyd, they just exploited violence. I mean, they never said, you know what, if you kill someone and they're unarmed, it's 5 years minimum, period. Right? They just kept exploiting the stories until the point that anyone with a sensitive side, anybody with empathy says, oh man, you know what? CNN, man, they care. MSNBC, they care. ABC, they care. Oh, Dateline, do you see how they bring it to us? Oh, they care so much. They care so much. And once they gain the trust of the sympathetic people inside of America, they all of a sudden never talk about the black men who are being killed by police officers, unarmed black men who are being killed by police officers today. You never see any stories about that. I mean, you can just look up the statistics, black unarmed men killed by police in 2024, and you'll see it hasn't gone away. There's a story that happened just like George Floyd's, where they're on his knee, they're on his back, and it crushes windpipe and everything else. The reason they're not exploiting it anymore is because they don't have to. They run polls, they see the census, they see which way people are leaning, and they know that anyone who watches these stations are leaning left, and they're sensitive to minorities, and they did it off the exploitation of violence towards unarmed black men. And now everyone's sitting here saying, oh, did you hear the person who said it's wrong to kill the unarmed black men in America say that Trump is racist and Kamala's great? And then they believe it. They believe it.
There's too many people that believe what they hear without any fact checking. Folks, you're listening to, by now you're going, wow. If the first time you listen, you go, wow, how about these guys? They're referees. And this is the Political Refs. And if you're enjoying this, like, comment, follow us, subscribe, share it. Click on the button to share this with 10 people and say, listen to these guys, what we're trying to do. And as you can see, we agree to disagree. Yet when we get together, there's no better friendship and camaraderie. But we have strong feelings for this country. And so be sure and like, comment, follow, subscribe. But back to what we're talking about.
All right. Well, we got moving? Got more on the narrative?
And I just want to, because we're going back and forth, talking about left and right, and all that other good stuff. However,
home and away.
But when you look at this past election, I believe somewhere that it's been notated there were over 200 plus million registered voters. Yet, over only about 51% of the 100% showed up to vote. That's where our problem is, folks.
Yeah, it's not the American people don't get involved. They don't get engaged.
This is not a left or right situation. We're talking about the minority there. That's only 30% or thereabouts. But 50%, not 50. It's, hold on, let me see. I got my numbers all mixed up here. It wasn't. It was, I think it was 200. No, because Trump got 50% of the vote. No, he didn't. Neither one of them.
He got 49.8, and Kamala Harris got 47.1, I believe. He won by 1.7.
Yeah. Neither one of the two hit over 50%. So all those people that stayed home, they're the real losers in this situation. Not those of us that went out and voiced our opinion, but yet we've got more voice than those that didn't even show up. And they need to be saying, you know what, it's my fault, one way or the other. Because question is, are they going to be on the left? Are they going to be on the right? Or are they going to be somewhere in the middle? And
well, I think that, like we talked about the Butler, Pennsylvania shooter, he was registered Republican. Was he a Republican? No, he wasn't a Republican. He was barely forming his own ideology. But he registered that way because his town was Republican. Most of the people who are registered based on what their parents registered as. They registered based on what their grandparents registered as. They don't care. But at 18 years old, you have to get registered, everything good like that. And I know this was my first time ever voting. And so people who are 18 to 25, 18 to 30, well, I won't say 30, depending on if they have kids, if they have a wife, if they're invested in the future of America. But young people are registered, but the fact that they didn't vote doesn't really make a difference because they would have only voted what their parents voted. So you would have increased the Republican vote by the percentage of people who didn't vote, and you would have increased the Democratic vote by people who didn't vote. They're registered based on upbringing, just like people who say, I'm Baptist, I'm Mormon, I'm Catholic, I'm Protestant, I'm atheistic, I'm non-denominational. 9 times out of 10, that's exactly what their parents were, right? And so I don't think that, I don't think that anyone lost by not going to the polls. I think that those voters will show face eventually here in the coming elections, maybe the next 2 or 3. But there's other reasons why people didn't go out and vote other than just being non-engaged. There are some people who are non-engaged, but I bet of those 100 million people you mentioned, Jesse, probably 20 million just didn't go because they were disengaged. The other 80 feel like, well, I'll be represented by mom, dad, my husband, my wife, my grandpa. They're just like, why do I need to go make the same exact vote, right?
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, so we're moving along here. So our listeners, we got maybe we have to have another time. Actually, this is good because Donald Trump's been 30 days in office, and the home team has done a lot of things. I mean, the crowd's wild. The state of the arena is wild, and a lot of things. Fast break, full court press, a lot of things going on. We'll talk about this, probably the same thing, rhetoric and narrative, because I think it's one that Americans need to themselves, not just Jesse, Justin, and Dan, but Americans, you who are watching this, you need to pay attention, not just listen to your favorite podcaster, which you should do, but also just to really gain wisdom, listen to people from the away, the home and the away, because sometimes, guess what? We know for sure both parties have a tendency to spin up things that make them sound good or dramatically emotional. So we're going to move on to our MVP because we got to get going each week. MVP, most valuable player in the world who really did something that stood out. We've honored President Jimmy Carter. We've honored Elon Musk. We've honored Donald Trump. We've honored Chris Cuomo. We've honored, who else? Who would I miss? We've had some people that are controversial. And this week, guys, got anybody that you think? There's one guy to me that I thought that's pretty bold leadership. And so I'll throw it out there. And again, just like we always have, people watching this, they go, oh, no, man. You know, they get mad at me. They get mad at Jesse. They get mad at Justin. It's okay. We can take it because we've been booed all over the world in our officiating shirts. We can take it. I'm going to nominate Ukraine President Zelenskyy because of what he said. He said, I'm willing to step aside. I'm willing to give up my role as president if we can have peace for my country, a really true peace that's backed up with, you know, with fairness and rules and guidelines for all parties involved, that Europe's involved, Russia's involved, Ukraine's involved, United States involved. So my nomination, you guys don't have to agree, but that's pretty bold leadership.
You know, I don't agree. You know, that sounds like that play straight out the left playbook. What did Biden do when things stopped looking so? Yeah. Oh, yes. The away team. See, the away team, who's stationed on the left side of the arena. That's straight out the playbook. Oh, the polls ain't looking good. The cat's out the bag. We're not getting no more money. I'll step down. That's exactly what Joe Biden did. He came out for the election. His wife said, great job, Joe. You answered all the questions, buddy. And then he said, oh, wow, you know, people know I'm senile. And then the left came in and forced him out and said, here's what you're going to do. And he didn't want to. Zelenskyy doesn't want to step down. He's got that earpiece in, and the people in the black suit who actually run the thing.
Oh, listen to you.
Hey, the people with the
self-sacrificing. I think it's an act of self-sacrifice.
It's not self-sacrifice. And here's the thing. So, you know, did Martin Luther King self-sacrifice? Did Jesus Christ self-sacrifice? No, you don't do that when you're a real leader. You see, there's certain type of leaders. There's one who will kill for what he believes in. And then there's the other one who will die for what he believes in. I'm with the people who are willing to die for what they believe in. Not just kill, but die. That's what Jesus was.
So who do you nominate?
You know, I don't have, but, you know, I'm not done debunking, but, you know, I don't have an MVP. There is no most, I would say this, he's definitely not the most valuable player because he doesn't produce any value. We've created the value for him. He has our guns. He has our money. He has our backing. He has our slogans. He has everything that he can put up a fight with is ours. So, you know, the only value he can give us is the mental.
I would just encourage you, brother, to check that out because Europe has given about 60% to our 40% when it comes to we've given the bullets and the rockets, but Europe has put a lot of money and dollars into that. The European Union.
I will look into that because that's not the statistics I heard. 60-40.
Well, that's just a rough.
That means they've given $300 billion.
Well, let's check it out for next time.
Yeah,
if I'm wrong, I'll admit it.
So, you know, generally speaking, I'm not that hip on the MVP as an official anyways. And since we only have one and we need at least 2 votes, I'm going to go, man, and say, you know what? Let's not even have one this week. Let's see what, I mean, this is the end, getting close to the end of the month. And hey, next week.
It's tradition, though. You got to follow tradition.
Yeah, you got to follow tradition.
In America, you got to have tradition. That means
if we're gonna go MVP, then I guess it's gonna be. I just really don't know. I mean,
can I do Mitch McConnell again then?
Yeah, you can do Mitch McConnell. We could give it to maybe Stephen A. Smith or something like that. He's producing a lot of value. He's got a lot of people's interest.
You know Stephen A. See, so now, Dan, you said who?
President Zelenskyy of the Ukraine, because the reason is he's willing to step down for the good of the country and I think the world to have peace in that area.
So then I'm gonna throw in my Mitch McConnell for the second week. And even though I don't really like the guy, I just like what he stood for or some of the things that he said this past month. So that's
there was another guy other than Kash Patel who was just appointed director over
Dan Bogino.
A lot of people don't like him. They call him a conspiracy theorist. You know, that happens nowadays when you just kind of poke the bear and try to do some digging. They say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist.
Well,
if you don't take anything they say at face value, you're a nut job, you know, but he could be pretty good.
Yeah, I think he hasn't, right now, he got a point, you know, he got named that and he hasn't done anything.
No, he hasn't.
He's just a controversial figure. And he's very colorful, and I don't know much about him other than I've watched his stuff, and he's very much for the home team. And he, you know, one of the things, you know, just say with a smile, getting to this whole rhetoric thing, to this day, that individual and the president still say that the 2020 election
was rigged.
Well, that he won, right?
Oh.
So if he won, and he won in 2016 and he won in 2020, how could he be president now? Because you can only be president twice.
Twice, right. That's great logic right there, Dan. That's great logic. Here's the thing. Cash Patel says he's gonna, but I have a couple things I want to say, because you're giving logic and I'm giving logic in terms to Zelenskyy. Do you see my logic in that? A great leader does never say. He will never say, you know what, I'm going to step down. And Jesus Christ would never say, you know what, they're trying to kill me. The Romans are really up in arms.
But he went down with the ship. He sacrificed himself for the good of mankind. He's the captain of the ship. He's going down with the ship.
No, but he didn't stop doing what he sacrificed his flesh, yes, but he didn't stop doing his mission. Zelenskyy saying, you know what? I'm doing so little. I'm doing so little that anyone else could do it. Just like Biden.
Well, I don't think he's saying that. I don't think he's saying that. I think he's just saying, I want peace so bad. I want my country to stop being embattled.
That's funny. That's silly. I don't know about that.
We got to get you. I'm going to have to send you.
We're getting opinions, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I mean, we can agree to disagree and still move on.
Yeah.
I mean, if we don't have a majority here, I mean, we should be able to sign off and get off. And then if we need to, we can discuss it until about 4:30, because I got to get out of here and see if I can go blow this whistle tonight.
Yeah, I got a referee tonight too. So anyway, well, folks, you're listening to, this is unprecedented. Let's see, because it's my Zoom. Now you should agree with this. But right now, I'm going to sign an executive order.
You got Zelenskyy.
Because it's my Zoom. I'm in control. Oh, Justin. I don't think he meant to do that, folks. He didn't mean to do that. I'm signing an executive order that it's Zelenskyy. I think Justin's battery ran down because he sometimes loses his battery. You couldn't have better timing than that.
Perfect timing, folks. The Political Refs, hope you've enjoyed it. Share it with 10 people. Spread the news. We have broad shoulders and thick skin because of what we do on the basketball court, and we're trying to blow the whistle on Washington, D.C. And keep following us. Stay tuned. God bless you all.